Hello and welcome to this 1 hour prop-free full body class. We are going to be exploring lots of different movements today. We are just going to be based on our mat, but I do want you to have enough space to be able to swing a leg forwards and backwards because we are going to be doing that at some point in the class. And I just want you to avoid hitting anything while we're doing the movements. So in terms of how we're going to do this class, we're going to start in standing, do a little bit of balance work, then come down to the floor, do a little bit more core work, a little bit more glutes and a little bit more arms as well. I will be giving you some options in terms of how to modify things as we go along in the class. If obviously there is something that doesn't feel quite right, or you feel that you're not able to sustain that movement for long, please take a break or modify if you know how to, or just wait until we join in on the next movement there. So I really hope you enjoy this class. We're going to start in standing. We're going to make sure that our feet are nice and parallel. We're going to just take a quick peek at our arches and make sure that the arches are nice and lifted. So you want to imagine being able to place a blueberry underneath each arch that you're not going to squash, so you want to keep that little lift going there. Now just bring your hands onto your waist, just start doing a couple of pelvic tilts here, so keeping the shoulders nice and still, engaging through the core, and then you're going to bring yourself into a halfway position or your neutral. Once there, start drawing up through the pelvic floor, so it's that in and up sensation coming from down below, as well as an in and up sensation coming from the centre as if you're tightening a belt. We are just going to drop our hands down by our side. We're going to come up onto our tiptoes and then lower down nice and slowly. So you just want to have a little bit of a stretch coming down your arms as you reach down through the fingertips into the floor, dropping the shoulders away from your ears, keeping the chest lovely and wide as you start mobilizing here through the ankles. So again, taking things really slowly as you come up and then come down. Let's do that 3 more times. And 2 and 1. Great job. We're going to add in the arms. So we're going to lift the arms up as we come up onto our tiptoes, and then the arms are going to press outwards as the heels come down. And again, lifting up, keeping the core engaged, pressing the arms down as you come down. And up, press down. Let's do that one last time before we reverse the arm movements. Nice work. So the palms are now going to face up towards the ceiling as you come up, and then press down as the hands come in front. And up. Press down, shoulders away from your ears. I'm very aware that the hands might not come up onto the screen, but they're not doing anything different than just coming up towards the ceiling. Good, let's do that one last time. And then press down, nice work. Hands come onto the waist. We're just going to start with a couple of bends here through the knees. So keeping the core engaged, the spine long, just as if you're sliding down a wall. We're waking up the knees here, a little bit more through the ankle joints. Good, let's do that 3 more times. And 2. Last time, we're going to stay in this bent position, core is strong, back is nice and long and straight. We're going to lift the heels off the floor, press through the balls of the feet to come all the way up onto tiptoes and then lower down. So this is called a foot series in Pilates. I'm about to call it Plats. In Pilates. So we're just keeping that spine nice and long, core is engaged as you press through the balls of the feet, coming up onto tiptoes and lower down. Let's do that one last time. So at no point are we hinging. We're not going into a squat or anything like that. Good. Now we're going to reverse the movement, coming up onto the balls of the feet. Then we bend the knees off as if we're sinking down that wall, lower the heels down and press through. So this way round is always a little bit more tricky for me, and you might find that too. So we're just sort of challenging the balance, challenging the brain as we come into this reverse foot series. So coming up onto tiptoes, sliding down that wall, spine stays long, lowering the heels down with control, pressing through the feet. Let's do that 2 more times. Trying to keep that balance going, keeping the core engaged. And then last time. Great work. Heels come all the way down. Fab. Now we're just going to come into a little bit of a crab walk series just to warm up through the glutes and the thighs. So you're going to keep your feet hip distance apart. We're going to come down into a couple of squats here. So making sure knees follow the line of the toes as you keep the core in strong in your spine and neutral. Hinging here at the hips. Pressing through the heels to come up. Let's do that a couple more times. Now, as we go into our crab walks, you're going to make sure that your feet don't come any narrower than they are now, so just hip distance apart. We're going to come down into that squat and stay there. Make sure your weight is into your heels, so bring everything back so that you can even lift your toes up off the floor. Now, we're going to take a step out and then bring that foot back underneath. Remember that narrow stance, nothing narrower than that. Out and under, out under, over to the other side. Now we're just going to try and stay at the same height here. So we're not making it bouncy. We're keeping that level as if we're just underneath a really low ceiling. Good. Now just taking your time here, you can go as fast or as slow as you can, as you want to, keeping the knees in line with the toes. Your core is engaged, your back is in its neutral as you go from side to side, staying at that depth. Try not to bob up and hit your head in that imaginary ceiling. Good, you can imagine like a tray of drinks on your head. Bit difficult, but that's the idea. We're really not trying to get any height going through the body. Good, let's do that a few more times each side. Trying to keep the weight into the heels, waking up a little bit through the core, through the glutes, through the thighs. Great, let's do 2 more lengths. Last length. And then we're going to come back to the center of the mat. Bring the feet back underneath the hips, arches lifted. Remember those blueberries? We're now going to pulse up and down, keeping the weight into the heels. Nice and gently through the knees. It's not a huge movement. We're keeping control through the rest of the body. Great, now staying down into the squat. You're very welcome to take a break if you want to. I'm going to stay down. We're going to shift our weight into the right foot, tap the left foot out, bring it back underneath, other side. So back underneath that really low ceiling as we start working through a little bit more hip stabilizing moves. Reach out and back, tap and tap. Another 4 to each side. 4, 3, 3, 2, 2. Keep low in that squat. Great, we're coming back to one side here. Now you're going to add in some arms. We're coming into a bit of skater move here. So we bring it in and tap it out, staying into the heel on the leg that's staying still. So try not to creep that weight forward into the toes, keeping that core engaged, that back in its neutral, hinging forwards, really tapping into the stabilizing glute there. Another 3, 2, and 1. Bring that foot back, straight over to the other side. Here we go. Good, and again, trying to stay as low as you can without compromising your form. Great work. Another 3, 2, 1. Option to take a break, option not to, and carry on with the endurance work. Hands back on the waist, tap out that foot on that very first side. Keep the weight into the heel. Going to try and lift that leg up and lower it down. Notice my hips aren't moving at all, so it's not a hiking up move. The hips are staying level, core is staying engaged, not a huge move at all. Good, keep the breath going. I'm already running out of breath. Whew. Another 3, 2, and 1. Foot back underneath, straight over to the other side. Up and lower. You might find that you've got different ranges of movement depending on the side, depending on the strength going through the hips. Doesn't matter if you're really not getting that foot high off the floor. Again, it's all about the control going through the center here. Another 2, and 1. Foot comes back. Again, endurance option, carry on, otherwise take a break. Coming back to that very first side, we're lifting the leg up. We're going to reach out long through the heel as we flex the foot and then pulse up and down. Tiny little pulses, we're not here for long. Keep the weight into the heel. 3, 2, 1. Foot back underneath, straight over to the other side. So nice and strong posture first. Core is engaged, back in neutral. Lifting the foot up, heel off the floor. Here we go for our pulses. Trying to stay balanced. Another 3, 2, and 1. Foot comes back underneath. We'll reach the hands up long. Take a breath in. Give your body a little bit of a wiggle. And then bring the hands all the way down. Well done. Hopefully feeling warmed up. We will be revisiting a little balance section later on. But first of all, let's take a little break through the spine, coming down onto our mat. So bring your feet about hip distance apart. Bring your hands down by your side. We're just going to grow tall through the spine as we get a little bit of core engagement here. Nothing too strong, nothing too locked in, just that sensation of a lift. As we take a few deep breaths here, you can close your eyes if you want to. So just take a deep breath in through the nose. And then breathe out through the mouth. And again, take that breath in. then breath out. Let's do that 2 more times. Take a lovely breath in, fill the lungs, and out. And last time, lovely deep breath in. On the breath out, we bring chin to chest. We start rolling forwards. Keep the knees a little bit bent here, just to allow for yourself to really roll through the spine rather than worry about what's going on through the hamstrings. So just rolling forwards, keeping the head really heavy, going as low as you can, and that can be with a bent knee, don't worry too much. Really let the head relax, feel heavy. Bend the knees, tuck tailbone, we're restacking. Back up to standing tall. You can keep your eyes closed if that feels good, if that helps you focus on the move a little bit more. Breath in at the top. Breath out, chin to chest, start rolling forwards, keeping the knees a little bit bent again. As you roll, nice and gently. Bending the knees, tuck tailbone, restacking the spine. Back up to standing tall. Hair's not doing what I wanted to do. It's all right. Breath in at the top and then breath out, chin to chest. Keep the knees a little bit bent. We're going to roll all the way down. So bend the knees a little bit more if you need to get into that, to come down to the floor. We're going to walk ourselves out onto the mat. And we're going to come straight down onto our forearms. So I want you to place your shoulders right above your elbows and your knees above your waist. So you've got this good, stable, box-like position underneath. Just start by doing a couple of pelvic tilts here, keeping the shoulders nice and still. And then bring yourself into what feels like a halfway position where you can still feel that natural arch going down your back. Engage up through the core, that in and up sensation, and lift your chest away from the floor, not to the point of rounding. You just want that lift as if you're trying to avoid being burnt by an imaginary flame underneath. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to keep our spine in that lovely neutral line as we hinge forward. So the shoulders come in front of the elbows and then hinge back. See how far you can go back before you start rounding through the back. So you'll want to stop yourself at both extremes before you move out of your neutral. And imagine it's your core that's dragging you forwards and then changes its mind, drags you back. And again, forwards and back. Spread your fingers out wide here. Keep your forearms parallel. And back, last time. And then bring yourself back, shoulders above elbows. Now for the first couple of moves, I can understand you'll want to look at the screen, but once you've got the hang of it, make sure you bring your neck back in line with your spine and tuck your chin in just so you have that lovely long line all the way to the crown of your head. We're going to tuck the toes here. We're going to practice a couple of knee hovers. So for the knee hovers, we want the knees to come up in one go, driven by the core and the back rather than the tailbone. So I'll show you what I don't want to see, which is tailbone reaches up and the knees hover. You want to imagine you've got like a hoist and that's sort of wrapped around your tummy. So you're going to take a breath in, breath out, you're going to engage through the core and then imagine it's the core that's lifting the knees up. So notice the spine has not changed in shape at all since we set it up in neutral. And then the knees come down, try and match so that they both land at the same time rather than one and the other. That's the base move we're going to be doing. Take a breath in to prepare, breath out, engage through the core. The core lifts the knees up, only about a couple of centimetres, holding it there, making sure you're not dropping through the chest, and then lowering down nice and slowly. Let's do that 2 more times. Breath in to prepare, breath out, lift, breath in, hold, breath out, lower. Last time, breath in to prepare, breath out, lift, breath in, hold, breath out, lower down. Let's uncurl the toes. If you need to take a little bit of a break, bring your bottom as low down to your heels. It might touch, mine sadly doesn't. As you reach out long through the arms, finding a little bit of a stretch here through the armpits, giving your body a little bit of a wiggle, if that feels good. And then we're going to bring ourselves back into that setup. So elbows right underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the waist, core is engaged, chest is lifted. Now we're going to press through the hands to lift ourselves up into a triceps press up, and then lowering the forearms down parallel to each other, letting the elbows relax. And again, pressing through, lifting up. Now notice again, the shape of my spine is not moving. So I'm not arching through the back. The whole back is lifting because the elbows are straightening. So we're not letting the rest of the body initiate the movement. It really is the pressure into the hands as you press into a straight-ish elbow position. And by straight-ish, I'm saying Do not lock your elbows out as you come into this straight position, because that's just going to build tension through your shoulders. Keep your core engaged to support your back. Tuck your chin in a little bit, just again to keep that lovely long line through the whole spine. Let's do that one last time. And then moments rest as we come back into a child's pose. Bottom reaches down towards your heels as you reach out long through the hands, through the armpits. Now things are going to get harder from here, and this is what I meant about pacing yourself and finding the level that suits you. So if you find that actually as we've started these next couple of series, you're really struggling to maintain your form, that is your cue to drop down to the level that you felt was manageable, where you could still keep your form all the while working. If, however, you just want to take a break, that's absolutely fine as well. We're going to bring forearms back down onto the floor, parallel to each other, spreading the fingers wide, elbows underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the waist. We're going to tuck the toes, reset ourselves back into our neutral, make sure the spine stays in neutral. We're coming back into our knee hovers. Let's go. Hovering up and then lowering down. Let's do that 2 more times. Tuck the chin into the chest once you've had the hang of the movement. And then we're going to keep that hold in the knee hover. We're now going to hinge forwards and then hinge back, shoulders above elbows. 3 more. Forwards and back. Let's add some breathing. Breathe in here, breathe out, move. Breathing to come back. Last time, breathe out, hinge. Breathe in to come back, lower the knees and curl the toes. Back into a child's pose for a little break. Now we're going to push ourselves into a knee hover to a pike for the first set, and then we're going to add in that hinge. So to do so, coming back into that very same base move of the knee hovers, taking a breath in, keeping the spine nice and neutral, the chest is lifting, breath out, hover. Now to come into our pike, we're going to reach out long through the tailbone as we straighten the legs. And then back to a hover. Now again, watch my spine, it's really not moving in shape. So we're keeping core engaged and strong to maintain that stability through the spine. Good. Lift up a little bit higher through your chest to make sure you're not collapsing through it. Okay, now we're going to stay up into the pike. This is our very final move. We're adding in those hinges. Hinging forward, keeping core engaged, spine in neutral, coming back. Hinging forward, breathing out. Breathing in to come back. Breathing out, hinge. In to come back. Let's try that 2 more times. Breathing out, hinge. Core stays engaged. Do not arch through your back. Last time. And back. Knees come all the way down. And big sigh of relief, sinking down into child's pose as you reach out long through the arms. Stretch out through the armpits here, giving your bottom a little bit of a wiggle if that feels good. Really well done. That was a lot of loading through the shoulders, working triceps, biceps, pecs, lats, pretty much all the muscles. And definitely a little bit of a lot of core, so a deep core stabilizing work. Really well done. Now we're going to swing the legs around and we're going to do a couple of roll downs before we come onto our backs. Now you're going to bring your feet out in front. Your legs are parallel, your feet and knees are in line with your hips. You're going to grow tall through the spine. Engage the core here, take a breath. And on the breath out, keeping hands on top of the knees, you're going to roll down, tucking tailbone and getting a bit of a scoop going through the body. Roll up through the shoulders here just for a little bit of a stretch. And then we're going to roll back. Take a moment. Breath in, long through the spine. Breath out. Roll back. Breath into hold. Scoop in through the core muscles. And then coming back. Let's do that without the hands now. Reaching out long in front. Roll the shoulders away from your ears. Breath in. Breath out. Tuck tailbone. Come into that halfway point. Make sure your knees haven't started coming in towards each other. Drop the shoulders away from your ears. Rolling up. Coming back up. Breath in. We've got 2 more. Breath out. Breath into hold. Breath out. Roll up. Breath into prepare. Breath out. We're going to go all the way down now. So just taking the time here to work through the control, growing through the center. And then once you're down on the floor, bring knees into your chest and give yourself a lovely big hug. Now we are going to be working through some quite challenging core work here. Again, like I said at the beginning of the class, please pace yourself, see which level matches what you are feeling ready and what you're feeling strong enough to do. If at any point you find that you've pushed yourself too far, drop down to the previous level or take a break. We're going to bring both feet onto the mat so that knees are pointing up towards the ceiling. I want you to bring your hands together, thumbs together, index fingers together, so you're in this diamond triangles shape. Thumbs up to belly button, and your index fingers are going to come down towards your pubic bone. Now, keeping your feet still, your knees still, and your shoulders still, you're just going to start doing a couple of tilts of the pelvis forwards and backwards. So just like we did when we were in standing, we're tilting forwards and backwards to come into our neutral, which is going to be a halfway point. Now, another way of picturing this with the diamond shape with your hands, imagine you've got a marble in the middle of that shape. So as you rock the pelvis forwards and backwards, that marble hits your thumbs and your index fingers. You're going to bring yourself into a position where that marble is now totally flat and totally still in the middle of your diamond there. This should be your neutral. You should have a slight arch going through your lower back, so you're not totally flat down into the mat. You're going to try and maintain this shape through your pelvis and through your lower spine throughout the rest of the series. Start engaging through your core, that in and up sensation, just to keep that stability there through the pelvis. You're going to interlink your fingers and place them at the base of your skull. Lifting your elbows so that they are just in your periphery. You're not going to allow them to get any closer towards each other. This is a mistake that happens quite a lot, especially as we get tired. So try and keep that space in front of you, those elbows wide. And to come into our chest presses or abdo preps, we're going to be making our head as heavy as it gets so that the arms lift it up. That allows ourselves to just switch off through the neck muscles. Let's give it a go. Take a breath in, breath out, press your head into your arms as you lift up, finding the tips of the shoulder blades, looking straight in between your legs, and then lowering down. And again, breath in to prepare, breath out, lift, breath in to hold, breath out, lower down. Good, let's do that a couple more times. So we're keeping those elbows wide, keeping the shoulders down away from your ears. We're not pressing down into our lower back. Our pelvis and core are staying absolutely still, just the way we set them up. We're going to hold on the next one. So you're finding the tips of the shoulder blades. Imagine someone's pulling you by the t-shirt just to get that extra little bit of lift. We're going to lift one leg up into tabletop and then lower it down. And then the other. And lower it down. So you want to keep the angle at the knee the same. It is a hip hinge movement instead of a knee coming into your chest. You're not allowing your knee to come any closer in than just above your hip. Good. Keep that height going through the abdo prep. Pace yourself with your breath. Doesn't matter which pattern of breath you've chosen as long as you're not holding your breath. Good. Let's make things a little bit more dynamic. Lifting one leg up, we're going to switch and switch. And switch. Keep an eye on what your core is doing, making sure it's not losing its shape and doming, or bread loafing is another way of describing it. It's keeping nice and engaged without any movement through your lower back. So you're not flattening the back or arching it into the mat or away from the mat. Good. Let's do that 2 more times. Keep the head lifted. Bring both legs up. We're now going to go into bicycle moves. So we're going to reach a single leg away, bring it back in, keep the core engaged. Now the lower you go with your leg, the heavier the leg is going to be on the core, so the more core work. So find that height that works for you. If this is all a bit too much through the head, you can relax the head down. Now we're going to make things a little bit more dynamic. So we're switching and switching, switch, switch. Good. Now we're going to add in a core twist. So pretty much just like bicycle legs we do at the gym, this time we're slowing the movement down. So we're not throwing ourselves from side to side. We're going to go opposite. So we're going to twist over to the knee that's bent and then back to center. Find the tips of your shoulder blades, stay there. Twisting over. Try and imagine you're looking over your shoulder rather than twisting the whole body. That will get deep into your obliques there. Try and keep the pelvis level and still as you go from side to side. We've slowed the movement down, just like I mentioned. It is making things harder, but we're working through the control because we can see a lot in the gym. There's a lot of this going on, which is just not very good for your back. And although it might feel like you're burning the core, it's just not doing it properly. So keep that core engaged. Keep the breath going. I don't mind again what you're doing as long as you're keeping a breathing pattern that works for you. Good. Last time. And here we go for a little break. Whew, well done. Knees into your chest. Give yourself a lovely big hug as you rock side to side. Now we're going to be working through the obliques a little bit more as we add in some twists through the leg. Now we are going to be pacing ourselves again, making things harder. So again, I will keep repeating myself. Just push yourself as much as you can. I'm only here to guide you through the class. Good. Now we're going to lift both legs up into tabletop, bring ourselves back into our neutral. You're going to squeeze the legs together first. We're going to practice those abdo preps with both legs up. So interlink the fingers, place them at the base of your skull. Take a lovely breath in, breath out, lifting up. Head is heavy into your arms, elbows stay out in the periphery, and then lower down. And again, breath in to prepare, breath out, lift. Squeeze those legs together and come down. Last two. Last time. Now the option here is to stay up if you want the challenge, or you can keep the head down on the floor if you still want the challenge but without the extra head lift. If you have got your head lifted, make it heavy. Let the arms carry your head up. We're going to separate one leg as it opens out to the side. Do not let your hips sway with it. So the hips are staying facing up towards the ceiling. So you're only going so far with the leg where you can keep the stability going through the pelvis, and you know you'll be able to bring the leg back without moving the rest of the body, without momentum. Good. Let's do that once more each side. Bring the legs back together, give them a really good squeeze. We're now going to bring both knees over to one side and then back to center. You can lift the hip off the floor, but you're keeping your chest center for now. We are going to add a twist in a bit, but by keeping your chest center, that is forcing you to restrict your movement through the twist, because if I went here and I kept my chest center, I would naturally fall over. So again, you want to keep the control going through. As you breathe, you can breathe in to bring the legs back and breathe out to bring them over to the side. This should feel quite tough. We have been working through the core for quite a while now. Again, you have the option of bringing the head down to the floor or taking a little bit of a break. We're going to stay twisted over to one side, lift a little bit higher, find the tips of the shoulder blades. Now you've got the twist going over to one side. We're going to reach the legs long and then bend. We've got two more. Breathing out to reach. Into bend. Last time, breathing out to reach. Into bend. Over to the other side. And again, breathing out to reach. In and out. Breathe in to come back. Last time, lift a little bit higher. Back to center, knees into your chest. Give yourself a big hug. We've got two more moves left of this series. Again, take it or leave it, or bring yourself back to the level that suited you. One leg comes back into tabletop, knee above the waist. Second leg, squeeze the legs together, interlink the fingers, take a lovely breath in, breath out, lifting up. Now we're going to go back into that same leg twist move. This time we're adding in a twist through the upper body to the other side. So legs are going to go over to the left as you twist your chest over to the right. And then back to center, take a breath in. Breath out, twist. Breath in, come back. Everything is shaking here. Breath out, twist. Breath in to come back. Breath out, twist. Breath in to come back. Once more each side. Now we're coming back to that first side. Hips are over to one side, the chest is over to the other. Keep your head heavy, lift yourself a little bit higher. Back into those 3 leg stretches. Breathing out, stretch. Breathing in, come back. Breathing out. And in. Last time. Back over to the other side. This is our very final move. Breath out, reach. Lift up a little bit higher. Breath in to come back. Breath out. And in. And breath out. And in. Oh my goodness, we are done. Knees into your chest, give yourself a lovely big hug. Let's bring one knee in a little bit closer as you reach out long through the other leg. Let the breath relax. That was quite a lot of work, really well done. And then swap the legs over long through the toes, opening out a little bit through the front of the thigh there into your hip flexor. Whew, great work. Both feet come down to the floor. We're staying down. We're going to come into some glute bridges. So you want your feet in line with your hips. Your knees are parallel. Imagine champagne glasses on top of each knee. Press the whole of the back of the arm, including the shoulder blade, into the mat. Spread your fingertips out wide. We're coming into some shoulder bridges, otherwise known as glute bridges. To do that, we start by taking a breath in. We're in our neutral, so that diamond shape where the marble is in the center of that shape. And then on the breath out, we start pressing the back into the floor as we tuck the tailbone, press through the feet, come up into your glute bridge. You're only going so high up where you can still feel the tuck going through. So there's a difference between my teaching where you still have that tuck and in other classes where they encourage you to get the hips high. But notice here, there's quite a big arch going through and I'm finding it very actually difficult to control my core. So keeping that tuck there helps you engage and keep that closeness between the ribs and the pelvis. Hold it here, roll all the way down bit by bit as if you're lowering a string of pearls onto the floor, relaxing the glutes as you come back into your neutral. Let's do that again. Breath in, breath out as you roll up. Again, only going so high you can still feel the tuck. Squeeze the glutes, squeeze the hamstrings. Imagine you're trying to bring your heels close in towards your bottom. So you have the whole of the back of the leg that suddenly activates and then roll down. Now we're going to come up and we're going to stay up on the next one. Here we go, rolling up, core is engaged, trying to keep that space between rib cage and pelvis as small as possible as you keep that strong. Engage the heels in towards your bottom to get that whole leg. Use your arms, press yourself a little bit higher. Good, now we're going to rock. We're going to lift the toes up, bring them back down, lift the heels up and lower. Keep the hips still and level as you work through this articulation there through the feet. Good. Let's do that one last time. And then you're going to lower yourself down bit by bit, coming back down onto the floor. I'm just going to reposition my feet a little bit closer. Now we're going to come back up into glute bridge. We're going to come up onto our heels, so the toes lift. We're going to rotate so that now the knees are facing outwards. And then we're going to rotate so that knees come a little bit closer. And then open. My hands are just mimicking what the legs are doing. Keep your hands down on the floor as you rotate. So the rotation here is coming from the hip joint. As you open the knees out and then close the knees inwards. If they touch, that's absolutely fine. Keeping that height going through the hips, keeping the hips level. Squeeze the glutes in a little bit more. Good. Last time. Good. Now we've got toes turned out and knees turned out. We're going to lower down with that openness going through the hips. Relax the back. We're going straight back up. So now we've got this external rotation going on through the hips, the knees and the ankle joints. You want to imagine you've got like a beach ball stuck in between your knees that you're squeezing tight, but without actually bringing the knees in. So now we're working through the adductors and the side glutes, in addition to the hamstrings and the bigger, bulkier glutes. Good. Whew. Well done. Keeping that flow going. Trying to really work through all of the parts of the spine as you lift up and lower down. Good. Now you're going to keep that lift. Keep the toes up. We're going to hover the bottom down and then lift up. So we still have that external rotation going on at the hip joint, at the knees, trying to get those toes lifted a little bit higher. If you are starting to feel a little bit of cramp, especially down the front of the shins, you can lower the feet down to the floor. Good. But this is just an extra way of getting those muscles, which we didn't know existed, working. Press up, hover down. So there's no roll through going through the spine at the moment. It's a simple lift and lower, keeping that idea of a beach ball in between your knees. Last time. And then you're going to roll all the way down. Open the knees out wide, let them flop open. Give your body a good old bit of a shake out here as you roll side to side. Well done. Great job. We're going to roll onto our side here. We're going to be doing quite a lot of work through our side glutes, getting the adductors in, and then finally getting a little bit more core work going in as we keep that stability going through. You're going to keep the top leg long, in line with your body. The bottom leg is bent underneath, not at a 90-degree angle. You want a little bit of an angle going on there. Now you want to lift a little bit higher through that underside, so you have a little bit of tension there going through the obliques. Imagine you've got a flame underneath. We're going to lift the leg up and lower it down. So we're keeping length at the forefront of our exercise rather than height. I want you to think more about how long you can reach your leg away, how far away you can lift up from the floor here through the underside, through the chest, rather than how high you're lifting up through the leg. I can't go any higher than this because if I do, that's when I have to compensate by dipping down through the hips. So work through your range of movement. Good. Last two. Last one. Plant the foot down. We're going to lift up into a side plank and then lower down. Great, keep that core engaged. Up and over and back down. Two more. And then last time. Great, hand comes back onto the waist. We lift the foot up. We're going to flex the foot, pulsing, reaching out long through the heel. Great job. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Foot comes down. Back into our little planks here, up and over, and back down, and up, back down, two more. Reach, get that openness going through the whole side of the body, lower, last time, and down. Hand comes back onto the waist, lift that leg up, we're reaching it forwards with a pointed foot, flex the foot, we bring it back, keep the hips stacked. Reaching forwards. I did warn about a little bit of space to swing your leg forwards and backwards, so please don't hit anything. Keep the rest of the body absolutely still and stable as you do this move, which is easier said than done because the body does want to compensate. Good. Last time. Foot comes down. Here we go. Back into our little flowy side planks. 4 in total. 3 and down. 2 and 1. We're going to stay up into our side plank. Now we're going to try and press through that front foot, as in the foot that is planted into the mat, as we lift that bottom leg and lower it down. Great work. We've got 3 more. 3, 2 and 1. Nice work. We're done on that side. Great job. Circle out through the arm. Give it a good old bit of shaking out. Great. I'm going to go straight over to the other side. So finding that nice lifted position first. Top leg is long, bottom leg is bent underneath. Lift. Find that imaginary flame underneath you're trying to avoid. So keeping stillness through the hips and the shoulders. We're lifting leg up and lowering it down. And lift. And lower. Great job. My adductors are shaking from that very last exercise. That was quite a hard one, so if you didn't manage to do it, that's absolutely fine. It's just a sprinkle of difficulty after a quite challenging series, especially with those little side planks, which we're just going to go into now. Bring that foot down onto the floor, plant it there, lifting up and over and back down. Imagine you've got a hoist underneath, and that's what's pulling you up. So it's not... Obviously you are pressing through the arm, but the movement is more generated from the obliques, the underside of the core there, rather than you putting a lot of pressure through the arm. Last one. Good. Hand comes back onto the waist, lifting that foot up, flexing the foot. Let's pulse away. Someone's pulling you by the heel. You're keeping the hips stacked and still, keeping the shoulders stacked. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, plant the foot. Here we go again into our 4 side planks or side bends. And down. Do not let this underside collapse. Lift and lower. 2 more. And last time. Great job. Lift that leg up. Hips stay stacked. Point the foot to bring it forwards. Flex the foot to bring it as far back before you have to roll back. So stop yourself before you feel the hips move. Good. Keep that core engaged. Don't let the shoulders sway with it. Again, we're keeping everything else still. Long through that heel and then long through the toes. Whew. Leg is shaking. Another 2 and 1. Plant the foot back down. Let's go for our 4. before we go into our underleg lift. No fancy word for that. 2, 3, 4, option to stay up, plant that top foot, really make it stable, lifting away through the hand, we're going to lift that underleg and bring it back down. And again, keeping that core lifted, keeping that underside lifted, 2 more if you can, last time, and then lower, and let's shake that arm out a little bit here, rolling out through the armpit, finding those circles, stretching out through that arm. Really well done. Whew, super well done. Okay, now we're going to come up onto our knees. If you're not so comfortable being up onto your knees, you can do this whole series sitting on your bottom with your legs crossed, or even up and standing. Lots of different options here. We are going to do a little bit more burning out through the arms. So you want yourself, whichever position you've chosen, to find yourself into a neutral first. So doing a couple of pelvic tilts, finding that halfway point, engaging strong through the core. Bring the hands down by your side. We're going to start by lifting the arms up, take a breath in, and breath out, hands come down. Let's do that a few more times. I'm just going to turn sideways to you to show you what I want you to avoid, which is where, especially as we are a little bit more tired at this point of the class, the rib cage isn't lifting up and your tailbone sticking out as you come into that lift. You want to imagine you've got springs connecting the rib cage to the hips, and they're really tight, so they're not allowing any movement there. So that closeness between the rib cage and the hips stays still throughout the whole series as you lift up, long through the spine and lower down. Good. Let's do that 2 more times. And then last time. Now we're going to press the hands down, open out, shoulder height, press the arms up, and again, press them down. Open, press up and down. So kind of like we did right at the beginning of the class. So that idea of these quarter circles, but along through the arms. And then now imagine you've got some really heavy dumbbells in your hands. So you're adding a little bit of pressure, a little bit of resistance through the moves just to really get those biceps, pecs, triceps activated. Just what we need after all of that work. Keep that core engaged. Good. We're now going to reverse. We're going to bring the hands forwards, press them up, turn the palms out to press down, and back and front. Up, press down. Good. Try and keep the body still, regardless of the leg position that you've chosen. If you're standing, if you're sitting, crossed legs or legs out in front, you're not letting the body sway. You're keeping that core engaged. Great. Now we're going to bring the hands behind the head, interlink the fingers, place them at the base of the skull. So we're going to come up and over into a side bend, and then squeezing the core, the obliques to come back up and over to the other side. So you want to imagine you've got a really heavy kettlebell in the arm that you're reaching away from. So this is something that we do quite often at the gym. So just to get those obliques strong, but this time we're not using any weights, and it's going to be hard regardless of whether we've got any weights going. So up and over each side. Good. And again, depending on which position you're in sitting-wise, doesn't really matter as long as you're keeping everything from pretty much below belly button still. So you're not bopping your hips out to the side. Good. And then last time. Great. We're going to come back up and over to that first side. Reach the arms out long. Bring them back behind your head. And again, reach. And back. Another 3, 2, and 1. Hands come back, up and over to the other side. Reach away and back. Stay strong through that core, long through the spine. Making sure, again, you haven't pushed the hips out. They're staying still. Last time. Up and over, back to that very first side. Reach the hands. We're going to pulse up and down. If having the arms out is just a little bit too much, you can keep the hands behind your head. The pulse is being generated from the oblique that we're reaching away from. Keep the breath going. We're here for 3, for 2, for 1, up and over. And again, pulsing up and down. Keep equal weight between the feet if you're up on your feet, or into your knees if you are here like me, or in the hips if you're sitting on your bottom. So you're not hitching up through a hip. Good. Another 3, 2, 1. Back up, reach the hands up, take a breath in. Arms come all the way around. Let's go back into our quarter circles. So reaching forwards, up, press down, forwards, up, palms face down. Another 3. Good, keep the breath going. Last time, and then we reverse palms up, reach up, press down, open out, up, press down, open out. 3 more. 2, 1. Arms stay open. Now going to reach either side. So we reach over, come back to center, reach, come back to center. Core is working hard still. The obliques are at the forefront of this class today. So your oblique shortens to bring you back. The rest of the body stays still. So from belly button all the way down, everything there is staying still. You're not bopping the hips out again to make things a little bit easier. Good, we're going to stay over to one side, long through the arm. So I'm reaching over to the right. It's my left arm that's going to lift up and then press down and lift and press. If you need to take a break, please take it. This is definitely the endurance option after all that work. Long again, reach. Last time. Back to shoulder height, up and over to the other side. This is our very final move, I promise. Pressing up, pressing down, reaching a little bit further, keeping equal weight there through the feet, the knees, the hips, wherever you've decided to do this move. Whew. Another 3, press down. 2, and 1. Back to center, we're reaching the arms up, interlink the fingers. Ooh, shake the body out like a noodle and then bring the arms down. Give everything a really good shake out. Really well done. We're going to come back onto hands and knees as we do a couple of cat-cow stretches here. Just keeping an eye on the time. We're all doing good. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the waist, tuck tailbones, scoop as you roll forwards. And then arching out through the tailbone as you come into your cow, lifting up through the chin if that feels good. And again, tuck tailbone, scoop toe muscles in towards your waist. And arch away. Great job. Now, for our final series, we're going to be coming up into a little bit of a lunge flow. So with the lunge flow, we are going to be doing a little bit of, again, an endurance challenge. So if at any point you do feel like you need to take a break, please take it and just join when you feel ready to. Now, we are going to come up into a halfway point. So spine is nice and neutral, core is engaged, chest is lifted. We are going to be doing a little bit of plank work, word of warning. We're going to step the hands out a little bit more in front here. Keeping core engaged and spine neutral, we're going to press ourselves forward. So now shoulders are above the hands as we come into this modified plank position, and then pressing back into our initial setup with your hips now above your knees. Pressing forwards, core is engaged. That's what is driving the move here. As you straighten out, lifting the chest up a little bit, lifting your gaze up, and then pressing back. Now we're going to do 2 more here before we step out into a full plank. You can stay with your knees on the floor if you would rather. So after this next one here, we're going to be stepping out. If you'd much rather stay on your knees, you're going to hold that modified plank position. We're going to tuck one toe and then the other for those who want to go to the full plank, and we're going to lift up. Hold it here. We're holding for a total of 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From here, regardless of which plank position you're in, you're going to separate the hands out and you're going to bring one foot forwards, stepping it forwards. Well done. So now you are off your hands, so you should be on your tiptoes. Doesn't matter which leg you've got in front, because obviously we're going to be doing the whole reverse. Now we're going to engage through the core, try and slide the shoulder blades down your spine as you bring your hands behind your head. Great job. Now bring your hands back down to the floor. Find a position that works for you. If you need to bring your foot in a little bit more, that's absolutely fine. Hands come back, core is strong, back is in neutral, and then you have to roll through the spine just to get yourself down to the mat. Let's do that 2 more times. Strong. And back down. Last time, we're staying up into this hinge position. You're now going to press through that leg to come up to an upright position. You can bend that back knee a little bit here. And then you're going to hinge back into this forward lunge, straightening the back leg out. Keep core engaged. That back really doesn't change shape throughout these moves here as you come upright. Your core is staying in strong. Press through that back leg, hinge forwards. Good. A little bit of balance challenge here, as you can see. Just struggle there, but please find something close by if you do need a little bit of support. Okay, back into our upright position. We're now going to pulse up and down. Remember, you can move the foot inwards a little bit if this is too deep or too wide a lunge. Good. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it here. Reach the hands up. Let's go back into our pulses. 5, 4. Keep the core in strong. 3, 2, 1. Back into our hinges. Press through that back leg to straighten the leg out. Keep the core in strong, back in neutral, and then back in. So the only difference we're doing here are the arms are longer and the legs are more tired. Whew. Another 3. And back. Keep the core engaged. Shoulders away from your ears. 2. And 1. Good job. Now, hardest thing of all, we're going to try and step that back foot so it joins the front one. Here we go. Press it forwards. Come into a squat. Reach hands forwards. We're here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Reach the arms up, take a breath in, and we're all done on that side. Really well done. A lot of holding, quite similar to yoga. I'm not a yoga teacher, but a lot of core elements there, keeping core in, your back in neutral, keeping lovely posture and just strong position throughout. Well done. What we're going to try and do is reverse the whole thing so that we end back into our plank at the end. So bear with as my brain tries to do that all in the other direction. So bring your feet in so that they are now back underneath your hips. Make sure you're in your neutral first. I'm going to pull my trousers up so that I'm ready for what's coming up ahead. Bring your hands down by your side. We're going to come into a couple of squats here. So reach the hands out long and then press the hands back. As you come back to standing, core is engaged. Press the hands out and come back. Now we're staying down into our squat. We have to do everything on the other side, so please make sure you step the leg back that you haven't worked through, that you've just worked through. So my right leg was forwards, I'm now going to step it back. So step it back as far as you can. We're in this hinge position here. We're going to hinge a little bit more forwards and then hinge back so that we are upright. Bend that back knee as you come back up. And then press through that back leg to hinge forwards and back upright. Good. Hinge forwards. Back upright. Core engaged. Back is strong. Use that back leg. Bend it to add a little bit more ease to come into this upright position and press through it nice and strong to really get into that hinge. Good. Coming back into the deep lunge here, drop the shoulders, we're pulsing up and down. Press through that front heel to get a little bit more activation through the thigh, through the glute, through the hamstring. You're probably going, why do I need more activation through that leg? I am shaking. I'm shaking too. We're here for another 3 and 2 and 1. Hands come down to your side. We're going to go back into our pulses. Here we go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now we're going to go back into our hinges. So pressing through. This time the hands, I got that one wrong, we're behind the head, I'm so sorry. But you can keep them down onto your waist if you're finding that just a little bit easier. So reaching out long through that back leg to get into the hinge, really hinge forwards, but don't compromise on your form here. So if you find that you're hinging and starting to curl, you've gone a little bit too far. Upright. Press through that back leg. hinge, core is strong, stretch to that back leg, and then bend to come back in, and reach. So it's kind of like you're flying out of a cannon here as you hurl forwards and come back. Another 3, and 2. I'm laughing, but it's actually just masking all of the, oh my goodness, going on through the rest of my body. Last time, we're in this hinge position, the back leg is long. We hinge a little bit more forwards and then hinge back up. So we're not coming upright, we're staying in a diagonal. Hinge a little bit more forwards, coming back up. Another 3, 2, and 1. Stay in the hinge, bring your hands down. I'm going to step my foot back a little bit here, and then come back into that deep hinge. Hands come down, we're nearly there. Hinge, hands come down. Last time, hinge, hands come down. I'm going to step back into a high plank. If your option had been for a low plank, on your knees, come into that because we're going to hold it for 10 seconds. Here we go, hands underneath the shoulders, regardless of your position. Long through the spine, roll the shoulders back, really set your shoulder blades down your spine. Holding it here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't lose your form, high plankers. Lower the knees down, modified plank, uncurl the toes. Back with your hips over your knees, press forwards, and back, and forwards. Core is in strong, roll the shoulders back, and back. Modified plank, I'm dripping in sweat. Whew. And back, and forwards, back, and then breath out. Sigh of relief into your child's pose. Roll out through the wrists. Take a moment here, do what your body wants to do, which is either swaying from side to side, rocking, sobbing, shaking, whatever your body feels like doing right now. Just release it all out. Oh, well done. That's a really, really strong finisher. And if you needed to take a break at any point during that, don't worry at all. Like I said, we were going for the endurance option. It was a lot of strong movement there. It's quite a challenging flow, regardless of your level, whether it's, early on into your journey to Pilates or quite late on. So please, please, please take a moment to congratulate your body, whatever it did during that series. Give yourself a little internal clap. Whew, well done. Okay, now we are going to step out into a pigeon stretch here. So you've got the option. If pigeon stretch works for you, you're going to drop into it and then find that position there where you can feel the stretch. Now, my area of flexibility does not lie within the pigeon stretch, so it always looks a little bit clunky. But if you are really struggling with pigeon stretch, you can come down onto your back with your knee on top, heel on top of the knee as you find the stretch down the hamstring, down the glute that works for you. So just finding a moment here to sink through the body. Find that stretch, let the breath drop into more of a recovery type of breath. So deep breaths in and deep breaths out. And then swap the legs over. If you're in your pigeon stretch, go into the other side, sink down into it. Or if you've decided to commit to the figure of 4 stretch like I have, just find that spot where you feel the stretch. So it might be with your leg lifted, you pressing out onto the knee, regardless. We're going to reach both feet away, reach the hands up and over, and just find this full body stretch. So if you're up onto your pigeon stretch, sorry, I didn't cue that very well, come onto your backs and just join us into this noodle stretch here as we reach. Oh, just find a little bit of a flow here. Do what your body wants to do. Well done. We're going to open the arms out wide. We're going to do a couple of spine twists. So bring your feet and knees together. Keeping the shoulders still on the mat. You're going to come over to one side. You can turn your head to face the opposite direction. Come back to center. Let's go over to the other side. Let's do that once more each side. Up and over. And over to the side. Nice and slowly. Really well done. Whew, that was a lot. But we covered everything. We did core, we did arms, we did balance, we did glutes, we did inner thighs, all over. And if, like me, you were going through the whole heels in your glute bridges, you've even done the front of your shins. So really well done. Bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a lovely big hug. Rolling side to side. Now we're going to do rolling like a ball, which is a move that depends on how thick your mat is or whether you're on carpet. So I really wouldn't recommend it if you're on a very thin mat or on a very hard floor. It's a classical Pilates move which works a little bit of core, not to the extent that what we've been doing. The main aim is a spine massager, which you might agree or totally disagree with me. But like I said, please only do it if you feel that you've got enough cushioning through the mat or through the floor. The way we're going to do it is knees into your chest. You're going to hold on to the front of the knees. You're going to squeeze the legs together. You will need a little bit of momentum and a little bit of core engagement. If you are not going to do this, just come up nice and slowly, reach your legs out long and reach over towards your toes. We're going to be joining you there in a second. We are going to do a little bit of momentum moves first, and then we're going to swing ourselves up and then find a position where you're in a really rounded position from the top of your head all the way down to your tailbone. You're going to place your hands down onto your ankles and bring your ankles a little bit closer into your body. My knees don't bend any more than this, but if you can, by all means, please do. We're going to try and keep this whole shape as we use our core to bring ourselves back and then back up. Do not go onto your neck. Stop yourself before you get to that part. So rolling back, using your core, coming back up. A little bit of balance work, like I said, a little bit of core work, certainly not to the extent that we've already done. And as you can see, this does rely on having a mat that is more or less comfortable. Let's do that one last time. And then drop the feet down. Straighten the legs out, and for those who were not doing that option of rolling like a ball, we're joining you here, legs straightened out, reaching over, finding whatever you can grab hold of as you come into this lovely forward stretch, really releasing out through the head. So you have a stretch that starts from the crown of your head and goes all the way down your spine, down the back of your legs and down into your heels. If keeping your legs straight is just a little bit too much, obviously keep a little bit of a bend. You will still find the stretch. Let's roll up through the spine. Swing ourselves over onto our fronts. Pressing ourselves back onto hands and knees. Tucking toes, reaching out long into downward facing dog. I could have just said, just come into downward facing dog rather. Step through all of those random steps to get here. And again, just finding a little bit of a flow through the body. Do what it wants to do, whether it wants to pedal or sway, whatevs. And then start walking feet towards your hands. Rock all of your weight into your feet so you release the hands away from the mat. Bend the knees, tuck tailbone. We're restacking back up to standing tall. Hairs all over the place. Separate your feet a little bit wider than hip distance. Keep a little bit of bend going through the knees. We're going to finish off with our deep breaths as we always do. Take a breath in, reach up. Breath out, relax the hands down. And again, breath in, feel the lungs, feel them too. And again, drop them down, whatever you want to do here. Reach away, take a lovely breath in and breath out. And finally, give yourself a massive, massive round of applause. Thank you so much for joining this 1 hour class. Like I said, we explored lots of different ranges of movement, lots of different muscle groups. I hope you're able to listen to your body and pace yourself and push yourself as far as you feel like you could today. It's been an absolute pleasure moving with you today. Thanks so, so much, and take care.